how we're seeing through the veil. Agape in this hopeless place. We were all born into this realm that has been conditioned and repurposed into a suffering pit of a seemingly hopeless Loosh farm, hell realm. But I've claimed to have known and seen through the veil. How is this possible aside from real psychic skills? I've claimed to have tasted and experienced the divine unconditional love of Christ Sophia inside this collective holographic caged nightmare. And there are still good essences all throughout it, probably in every neighborhood in the realm, sadly. Why do I say sadly? Because they're often in the middle of a bunch of possessed and NPCs. It is similar to sitting here shivering in a fucking hoodie in the sprayed cold June gloom, morning fog, that when I wrote these notes, the prediction was that it would magically lift after 10 a.m. But when it's heavily geoengineered, I can have to wear jeans and a hoodie all day in California. And just because the fog rolls in June, they have everyone convinced that's natural. Everyone that's dumb enough to think geoengineering doesn't exist. Because it seems like the paranoid side of my mind feels that the fog magically lifts after 10 a.m. when it no longer contains the healing infrared sunshine. It seems like the chemtrails have intentionally grown back my horrific illness. But I don't think it's just about me. It's about exasperating all illness that needs sunlight to heal. When it's 80 degrees or 90 degrees everywhere else in this continent in the northern hemisphere, how have I seen through the veil of forgetfulness, the slavery hell realm, when Saturn did such a great job of boxing it all in? Aside from, dialing in massive psychic superpowers, well, I've written decent songs inspired by girls I'd never meet. I'd never get. Not never meet. The Archon got my tongue there. Diseases that try to inspire periandropause. It seems like they'll never go away, and I don't want to give someone else this horrific problem. Financial slavery. That's the big one. Financial slavery conditions most into the beast mode of financial survival as a rat in a rat race trying to step over the other rats and getting into lots of loose extracting issues from that. Institutional abuses of all stripes, like the worst being SRA. But everything from what the Catholic priests did under their black robes to circumcision to all of the abuses of the governments, such as bloody wars and, once again, geoengineering that really do a great job at making this seem to be only a hell, and growing depression and anhedonia, if you're willing to accept the horrific fact of the memory wipe. The devil's hijacking mastery inspires has inspired an unorganized one-person protest from inside the panopticon. Because I'm not fully healed. I still have sickness. But all over the realm, I've met kind, decent, respectful spirits who still had their essences even after all these millions of years of abuse and violent forced inversion. Even if after they still agreed to uphold the Mort gauge. In the last 6 years, we've seen the heat turned up on the boiling human frogs in this insane experiment of repurposing everything into a farm for demonic powerful entities, or even making us their cyborg slaves. Yet, so sadly, we are so traumatized and Stockholm syndromed in our massive systematic attrition. Most still pretend in delusional denial, even as more than half of bodies rapidly turn into cyborg, remote-controlled slaves and NPCs, as the self-replicating nanotech and graphene dioxide colonies inside of them grow in their fearfully stolen humanoid bodies. They fell for the biggest psyop ever and lined up to have their free will and future decimated by the needle tech. Yet, that biggest realm-wide battle awakened more from the 3D death hole of the Matrix than probably anything before in a century or multiple centuries, maybe longer than that. During that phase before this transmission began, I discovered 20% of Santa Cruz, California really appreciated it. When I'd ride my bike down the street, telling the truth about the MM, ranting about the Great Reset, or giving them a flyer that Drew made about the horrific facts. As I said in my recent talk about how adaptability and reframing are our superpower, this war is no different than the wars I mentioned there, World War II, in the sense that it has spurred many folks to awaken to the fact that this beauty that you see behind me here has been through the evil aliens and their archontic, false, fake authorities, or you could call them interdimensional parasite species, collectively repurposed into a hell. Yet, despite what your Bible says, hell does not need and can never approach or even fathom eternity, it has to keep pulling more tricks to temporarily keep going. Parasites need a host. They're not going to kill us all off, or there'd be no batteries for the matrix. If you're a pneumatic soul or a true essence being, you're giving a lot more energy to it than someone who lost their soul, became an NPC or a cyborg. Ends dead, of course. The fallen, self-imposed demonic slave masters have to increase the psyops. Pain, extraction of suffering through poisoning, through all these amazingly evil genius gadgets of invisible weaponries like DEWs and self-replicating nanotech colonies. Can you just saying that phrase is just unfathomably evil at a level that only these beings who have no right to be here could come up with. They have to increase the psyops, increase the poisoning, separation, and slavery to induce more suffering and get more loose, to keep hell going. More and more fear-based and terrorizing control operations have to keep escalating. This is why folks who are truthers often say, oh, we know something big is coming, because it always does, to keep this stupid or morally and emotionally retarded system going. This realm, if left to the fake gods, is your truly, nearly eternal lake of burning fire. This place turned into a wretched pit of what the false selves demand. And though I can't get a copyright strike for this AI-induced, clip of Django and Grappelli, they could put advertisements on it. So yeah, you go to that tunnel of light, you get your memories wiped, you come back down here to be a loose meat puppet for another round. There's your burning lake of fire. When your essence can't evolve. This is the real hell. The unexamined human experience in 2026. It wasn't always this way. In my relationship chart with Santa Cruz, which I discovered years ago when I first arrived, it said there will be a lot of love and no sex. And this has been tragically a true prediction. And probably not just because it was superimposed into my subconscious from reading that astro.com relationship zodiac birth chart, which since then they've taken off your ability to do relationship charts with towns. Before my gnosis, unless the town is young, before my gnosis sharing online, and even one since, I've had several folks who tried to rescue me, who were all more than likely on the cluster B personality disorder spectrum. Since I've learned to spot covert and collective or hero narcissism or narcissist heroes, most of them stay away from me. Because as the chicken shit social cowards they are, they won't even return my emails. And if any of these people that ghosted me due to narcissism are watching this, I dare you, I challenge you to return my email with a modicum of respect to a person who isn't making a good living telling the truth about all this filth in the second bardo. Because these hero narcissists wanted to save me to get into heaven or prop up their image and get lots of supply. Learning I had a coyote side and several serious deadly diseases, which most can never get rid of, including one mental schism that sprung out of this nastiness, codependency. They've all given up entirely on being my friend or my saint or my hero because they cannot have equal respect. And though the hoodie was a large when I bought it, it insists, maybe it was a large in boys, I don't know, it insists upon sliding back off. Because these self-appointed heroes of Trey cannot have equal respect or face their shadow or actually love me in my unhealed, wounded state, even though I still have extreme physical illness. They could only try to reach down like Bible thumpers and New Cagers and give me a handout, a prayer, or even a work trade, or super kind words and pseudo love, and then somehow forget I existed when I didn't stay so small and only identify as sickness or poverty. And I didn't get healed by their heroic gestures. Because the more controlled by miasmas or cognitive dissonance of dogma, rent, or insane property tax and mortal gauges that, if they're from here in the coast of California region, they're used to and have become escalating rapidly into increasingly open financial slavery that for some reason, maybe they're scared of getting shot or locked up in an ICE facility, they keep on paying. And the more of these videos I make, the more I cease to exist to these archonically manipulated do-gooders. Again, if you're one of those people and you want to heal, well, then have some honor and respect and email me back. Those with true agape or brotherly love and sisterly love or love for all of humanity, on the other hand, however, still communicate with me. Those that have touched my existence here with another memory of this beautiful truth. They didn't forget I exist. They didn't chicken shit out and emailing me back. They don't serve me for narcissistic supply or to get into the fake heaven or for good karma. Those folks remind me of the spiritual, benevolent truth. Even the good side of YouTube, which most often doesn't see a whole lot of millions of views, which is letting me share and letting others share, even a tiny few that are popular, share the big picture, even though the beast doesn't want this to grow. So they had to glitch that tendency through, in David Icke's case, selling lots of books. In the case of the Inspired channel, having all their affiliates and their things they sell. And Jimmy Dore, just like the old days of the pre-digital false royalty, telling the truth as a clown, as a joker, as a professional comedian in a capitalist system. As Don Miguel Ruiz said in his book, The Mastery of Love, and this is not just in the physical sexual act, but etherically, through your actions that are not physical sexual acts, through your mind, through your awareness. Love has to flow out from within to be experienced. And this is how somebody who was good-natured can get addicted to making social media posts, even if they weren't in the cluster B spectrum, because through the UTAT of the digital world, you're getting your energy from service. And this is how we experience so-called love, is by giving it or sharing it, not by selling it, not by controlling, not by contracts, by expansion. Because true love doesn't come from another, like all those old sick Motown songs taught us. This world, meaning the media and the society, is a lie. The mainstream media are the main psyop pushers, as most of you watching this know, of course. Competitive selfishness isn't just necessary to keep up with the jonesing lonely goyim or the jonesing addicts next door. Competitive selfishness can force the obedient to be more and more fake, 2 or 3 dimensional paper objects. They thought they'd turn me into that. And those few who had so much love or sovereignty, mental sovereignty, they wouldn't be good slaves, were often bribed, paid to be rendered selfish bodies with illness or schism or veterans surviving in codependency. Yet, like many, the rents and taxes of Santa Cruz, California, push me away, even if I still don't pay them. And this damn fake-ass, cold, gray, overcast June gloom certainly pushes me away as much as anything. And even if I had a legal box here, I would just take the summers off. Few want to admit the entire foundation of our existence, meaning the monetary system, but especially the insane West Coast rents, for example, and wherever the rents are really high, are a big, rotten lie. Most still agree on, because they don't want to get beat up by the cops or the ICE agents or the IDF and hauled into a facility to reprogram them to be good slaves again out of fear. Or they might have children, or they might have other reasons why they need to take good care of their flesh suit. Well, we all ought to, right? Only collectively terrified, abducted, and violently coerced humans under duress since the conquistadores, or even since Lucifer Forest Rebellion a million years ago, would agree to be slaves for their boxes to, quote, stay safe in the realm where they were born, where that box and that couch and that mainstream media could be the most psychologically dangerous place you could go. Since I was infatuated with an anarchist named Sophia 20 years ago, who became an MD, over and over, Santa Cruz has shown me glimpses of true agape love, mixed into the Masonic checkerboard matrix of financial slavery. And the several occasions that Dr. Bruce Lipton made his wife wait to explain spiritual concepts to me, and even gave me the dog-eared, his personal copy of his second book he wrote with Swami Beyondananda, I noticed that Santa Cruz County has had Aquarian visionaries like Nina Simon, who, upon becoming president of the Santa Cruz Museum, transformed the museum. A Jewish person on the side of goodness and freedom transformed the museum into the awesome free music venue, Abbott Square, where they have live events just about every single night of the week. Live music several nights out of the week. It's where I recorded that second event with the space heater. Sunday, at the Lighthouse Community Jam, I saw the man who began bringing fire spinning equipment to the Westcliff Lighthouse on Sundays over a decade ago to, I'm not sure if there was already gatherings there on Sunday, but thus establishing that awesome community, strongly ritual celebration, multi-dimensional co-creative party of spinning fire with music and dance. Yet, when nobody was there to contradict him, a scuzzy club member or somebody that acts as though he was in the fucking Illuminati, like a self-imposed leader like the devil himself, would tell me not to beatbox or not jam along. Even though that founder I saw yesterday, who was the first person to bring the fire spinning equipment out there, originally told me I'd always be welcome to play music there. What gives? Well, this is a little microcosm for this realm. It seems to me this spirit of agape love here that I experience quite a good amount of here in Santa Cruz, California, is from before the mission Santa Cruz. Not just because that mission was a Libra. The archetype of Libra and the legend of Venus, and just watching a show with Ellen King and Typical Skeptic podcast about, and she mentioned that Venus is represented by green, the healing in nature. So that Libra is psychologically, subconsciously, internally, patterned to try to be altruistic. The Libra could have and share true love, or it could be totally smushed and molded by Saturn and the Matrix to be an imposter, hero narcissist, pretending to keep harmony and measuring their health by the yardstick of a profoundly sick society, as Krishnamurti put it, in other words. They could just be being nice, pseudo-nice on the surface level to keep harmony with and in the hell realm. It's all in the individual person or essence, or it can be also on the collective's level of awareness. How much awareness does this group have? And shadow clearance, how much internal work have they done? Because if they think it's natural to be icy cold in the state of California, anywhere in any month, they're probably brainwashed to think geoengineering is something they might do in the future. And it might take years to do the inner work, to forgive yourself. With me, it seems to have been like that. For accepting their HELLP. Help. The archontically possessed Libra can only push you further into help, like all these advertisements. And recognizing how to not attract more imposters. If you grew up or have been through fake vampiric relationships with those on the cluster B personality spectrum, it takes a while. Seems like it takes a while to get over that imprint. Because, the fake gods want you to have more stupid relationships like that thwart your expansion, your escape, or your dialing in of your psychic and creative powers. Yet, of course it's true, the cliche can be true, that there are always lessons in every situation. It's just so sad and pathetic to know those lessons will be wiped clean in the tunnel of light. So don't go there. Throughout this existence, from my days in my 20s when I hitchhiked across the country several occasions, even to those who shared with me through government agencies, from some of those who cleaned the Midtown Faith Community shower truck, to the simple ability to dance, jam music, let alone write songs, paint, draw, have very open exploratory conversations, and now fourth dimensional video talks through UTAT and the benevolent side of the internet, to the self-healing capacity of the body, even in this poisoned atmosphere, and all the fake things that have gotten inside of this body, to the healing I've gotten from early morning sun, to the words of others I've found online, such as Dr. Jack Cruz, from the occasions I was actually able to manifest what I needed out of thin air, to the ancient spirituality that wasn't infiltrated, and some of the shamanism, Taoism, Buddhism, Gnosticism, Rosicrucianism, even though they all became isms, and humanism. I've attained degrees of reconnection, plugging back in some of that DNA perhaps, and attaining states where I will never forget that I am not the limitations of this body. I am not YDOB. Your date of birth is what the body is in mirroring. I am not even my strengths. I am a being who has been going a long, many life occasions. It may go as long as it chooses outside of this holographic cage. I've attained glimpses of the exterior of the veils of hell. From the work of Keith McHenry with Food Not Bombs and Brave and Free Santa Cruz, David James Rodriguez and Mike Mattingly and the Santa Cruz Voluntarists and the Funky Fathers, through these true anarchist brethren of mine, I've seen, I've met a few folks with tremendous courage who act within the true love of agape, even under the most horrendous psyops ever, like the lockdown. My friend Lyle made and sold t-shirts at cost that said, "What's in the vaccine? Don't you want to know?" Inspired. Some of these folks inspired by the devil's amazing tyranny and overt attempts to radically and quickly eat it all, because of their love, because of their true, unconditional brotherly and sisterly love, to speak out against the vampires and work radically, courageously to end the abuse and slavery. Maybe they love the land too. Maybe they just love the real divinity that much. Yes. Most of these guys were beaten and jailed. Yes. My spiritual, my childhood musical spiritual and political heroes were all shot or assassinated. Yet, that seems to be passé now, and no one's quite as charming as any of them were anyways. And Thomas Massey walks. Even though AIPAC spent $30 million to get him out of Congress, they don't kill the truth tellers of today. Today, they mostly just minimize, evict, or jail them. Why would a retired dentist clean the shower truck for often really gnarly or dirty homeless people? Would he do it just out of fear of the false God and worried about not getting into heaven? Nah. I'm pretty sure my buddy Jim does it out of true agape. The greatest high, as I called it in my video, The Helper's High. A truly ensouled or pneumatic soul, as the ancient Gnostics called it, really has and will share unconditional love, even if it's been rendered more and more fucking dangerous by the fake authorities. The original Christos human race was, in my opinion and from all my research and my ancient Irish blood has told me, the original humans were and are pure love and creative divine beings. The system of extraction that makes it fake fucking cold with planes right now is made of false selves that have done a really, really bang up job in a real successful, amazingly large vampiric operation that goes all the way to Saturn. But yet, there have always been holes in this veil, holes in the Nephilium reversal grid, holes in this holographic prison container. Can you see through it? I give thanks to Christ Sophia, to the spirits of Lemuria here with me, more than likely. These spirits of Mu still serve Santa Cruz, seems to me, from before Tai Me. And they remind me. I give thanks to my mother. I give thanks to my true friends and you listening for reminding me that creativity itself for the eyes to see beyond the cage of this psychological and physical suffering plane net, or whatever shape it is. This ability to see beyond the veil of forgetfulness, this ability lies dormant in most of us. It is the original portion of your mind that is not possessed by the archons. I thank the divine yet dream-blocking plant medicine ganja. I thank my fellow online truth tellers, even if they were often coerced to have nothing to do with me. when I tried to reach out to them. I give thanks for what's left of nature. Because, being in it, why does it heal us? It helps us to gain these memories of the truth. Even growing food shows how abundant this place really is when it's not controlled by vampire entities. Because I'm really thankful for nature and all these gifts and these friends, because these beings have reminded me and shown me the truth outside the hopelessness of the black box cube of death. May you see through the veil too. And enjoy my content here. And click on one of the many hundreds of other videos that teaches you other ways, techniques, and details about how to do this. And yes, if you have the courage, even if just for moments, even if just for hours or minutes out of your busy hijack schedule until you shed the shed, you will create some great moments.